relationships.
Hello and welcome to Weekend File, and due apologies for starting the program late. Now, since the return of democracy in 1999, elections have held simultaneously every 4 years. While the spotlight often shines on the grand stage of the general elections, the off-cycle elections brought about mostly by annulment of elections by the courts, death and impeachment present a unique perspective to Nigeria's electoral process, wielding a subtle yet equally significant influence on the political landscape, and hold the potential to shape the political dynamics as an integral part of the electoral process. Today, 5.41 million eligible voters went to the polls to vote the drivers of their three states of Kogi, Bayelsa and Imo. The first time the off-cycle elections are holding in three geopolitical zones of the country: North Central, South South and the Southeast. So what were the challenges? How smooth was the process? And what are the lessons learned that will translate into success in the next off-cycle elections in Edo and Ondo states? I'm glad to welcome you to this week's edition of Weekend File. And with me to discuss off-cycle elections and matters arising is former Director of Voter Education, INEC, Nick Dazank. I am Jummai Yusuf. First, let's get the news. Now, existing and potential Saudi Arabian investors have expressed readiness to consider Nigeria as a hub for investment in Africa, with a supporting business plan to be set up soon. It was the immediate reaction to the apparent convincing presentation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who engaged investors at a Saudi-Nigeria roundtable meeting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. State House correspondent Musbau Wahab reports.
President Bola Tinubu again leads his team to maximize the platform created by the Saudi Africa Summit. And here, on the headlines, the largest economy in the Middle East and that of Africa explore more possibilities for mutual greatness. The countries with much similarities, including their young populations, want to literally lean on each other to grow much higher.
Two economies with great set of resources, with visionary leadership on both sides, who are set on this very transformative set of reforms that are quite compatible but complementary in nature, that bode so much promise for not only our countries and our people, but indeed for our regions, as we set the role model and the example of how economic development, prosperity, and putting the interests of the people first is going to result in the future.
Beyond Hajj-centric and existing bilateral relations since just a year after Nigeria's independence, both parties are considering expansion of investments in energy, petrochemical, food security, technology, mining, healthcare, financial services, among other sectors.
I always say about Nigeria is that Nigeria is the best kept secret in terms of investment. And definitely looking for partnership. We are not only asking the Saudis to come and invest, we are also looking forward to investing here. So it's a two-way street.
And against some wrong perception about the country hitherto, captain of the team assures that a new Nigeria is here with a renewed vigor for business with the world and Saudi Arabia as a special partner.
You will have no better friend and partner than Nigeria. We are blessed with a large population. This population is full of can-do attitude, young, vibrant, and well-educated human capacity. Equally, Nigerian consumer is necessary for the economic growth of the continent. So the elephant thesis is killed. From this moment on, we are open for business.
The business-minded Nigerian leader says with the enabling environments being created, Nigeria is equally becoming a free market economy.
And I assure you, the sky is not only the limit, but a destination for prosperity of our people. It's not an ordinary dream. It's a strong determination that is focused on partnership for success and driven by an ambition, unyielding ambition and commitment to democratic values, free market economy, private sector driven prosperity, and we're at it. We are ready.
It's hope renewed again for another set of potential investors. An MOU already in place, setting up a Saudi-Nigeria Business Council to drive the partnership. The council is expected to take off first quarter next year to put necessary action to the words spoken here. From Riyadh, Musbal, then Wahab, NTA News.
Indeed, Nigeria is ready and open for business. And as part of efforts to support the Tinubu administration's agenda for job creation and the growth of the micro, small and medium enterprises, the federal government has received the offer of a commercial bank to inject 30 billion naira discounted loans to 700,000 MSMEs. Vice President Kashim Shettima disclosed these at a meeting with MSME stakeholders at the presidential villa. State House correspondent Rahman Jibrila reports.
After meeting with the management of the commercial bank, the 30 billion naira support to MSMEs focusing mostly on youth and women as target beneficiaries, Vice President Kashim Shettima said the loan is at 15% interest rate. While receiving the stakeholders in the sector, the Vice President acknowledged that the challenges are daunting, but Nigeria has the talents to overcome some of them, especially in the agricultural, digital, and the manufacturing value chains. He urged stakeholders to unite in order to overcome the common challenges confronting the country, noting that Nigeria is blessed with human resources to address the projected global talent deficit.
This is a viable alternative for MSMEs, and it's not a program that we will need to have another conference or a meeting for. It starts now. Still encourage further partnerships that can support the MSME space and allow small businesses to thrive seamlessly.
I expect that this will impact at least 4 million people, given the 4 different programs we're doing. So this is not just about lending. We're building capacity by training the youths. We're ensuring that we can empower them through financing. We're also ensuring that we can find new markets for these SMEs so that any product or service that they come up with, they can find an outlet for it. And I think ultimately where the global best practice does not exist in Nigeria, we will do training programs that will take them beyond the shores of Nigeria so they can be better when they return.
The Director General of the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, Charles Odi, said the stakeholders were keenly following the activities as well as interest shown by government in issues confronting MSMEs and gave assurance that the Tinubu administration is committed in growing the private sector. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Now, all eyes are on the off-cycle elections. The off-cycle elections conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa has demonstrated resolve by the residents of the concerned states to elect credible leaders to pilot the state affairs. Mayor Ogidi has an overview of the process.
The long-awaited 11-11 is here. Top contestants retired from campaign grounds to their polling units. 52 candidates in the 3 states testing their popularity through the ballot. Coincidentally, many of the candidates with an immaculate outfits. They approached the ballot boxes between 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And of course, 5.1 million voters from the 3 states also filed out, taking an accord with the ballot that will last for 4 years.
19, 20.
Voting concluded, sorting and counting ongoing. Hopes of candidates hanging on the scale as they await the final whistle from INEC. Voters turn out fairly okay in Bayelsa and Kogi states, but not the same testimony from Imo State. Security agencies and the umpire got pass mark.
Commend the security agencies with the kind of deployment they have done. You can see that the INEC has risen to the occasion and everything seems to be very good.
But here, I'm very satisfied with the process, with the personnel that are handling the process.
The elections have entered a critical stage, but with the use of beavers, the fears usually associated with ballot box snatching and altering of election results expected to reduce. Uploading of results into the INEC result viewing portal currently ongoing. As of 6 p.m., 1,417 polling unit results for Bayelsa, representing 63% out of the 2,244 expected polling unit results, had been uploaded. For Imo State, 2,899 out of the 4,720 expected polling unit results, representing 60%, so far uploaded. In Kogi State, 1,914 out of the 3,508 polling unit results, representing 54%, uploaded. It will be a long night for the people of Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states as they watch the votes. But on the dark side, a boat conveying election materials and personnel capsized in Southern Niger local government area, Bayelsa State. Though no life lost. Mie Ogiri, NTA News.
And various situation rooms for the off-cycle election, governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states are urging INEC to suspend elections in polling units and local government areas with reported cases of pre-filled results forms, as well as arrest, investigate and prosecute the individuals responsible for this electoral offence. This formed part of the preliminary report on the elections. Yusuf has details.
First to brief the media on the governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states is Yaga Africa Watching the Vote. Its data center received critical incident reports relating to pre-filled election result sheets in Ogori Magongo and Ukehi local government areas in Kogi state, calling for the immediate arrest and prosecution of all INEC officials and their accomplices. Yaga Africa also received a report of manual accreditation of voters in polling unit 006, Ward 03 of a local government area in Kogi state. Yaga Africa commiserated with INEC on the boat mishap in Southern Niger, Bayelsa state, and condemned the abduction of INEC staff in Sagbama local government area.
Yaga Africa calls on INEC and security agencies to uphold the transparency of results collation process by complying with the guidelines on results management and ensuring accredited election observers, media, and party agents are present at all levels of results collation.
The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, on its own report, observed vote buying in the 3 states of the governorship elections, that is Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. It called on security agencies to ensure that peace reigns throughout the remaining phases of the process.
Situation Room partners reported 19 incidents of violence as at 12:30 p.m. in the 3 states. These incidents of violence were recorded in Ayemba, the Kinga local governments of Kogi state, Sabama and Brass of Bayelsa state, and Ekeredu LGA of Imo state.
The last interim report came from the Center for Democracy and Development's Election Analysis Center, with wide reported cases of vote buying and violence in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states.
Our observers reported wide use of beavers and a quick resolution time when there were issues with the beavers. However, there were pockets of irregularities in the 3 states.
Incidences of late arrival of election materials and personnel were also reported in the 3 states of the election. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
INEC has received reports from its officials in Kogi State on incidences of electoral malpractices, particularly the incident of result sheets completed before voting. Reports indicate that the incidents occurred in Adavi, Ajakuta, Ogori, Magongo, Okehi and Okene local government areas. The most serious incidents occurred in Ogori, Magongo, affecting 9 of 10 registration areas. Statement by INEC National Commissioner Mohammed Kudu Haruna says this is entirely unacceptable. Any result not emanating from the Commission's process in the polling units will not be accepted. Consequently, the election in the 9 wards in Ogori, Magongo local government, Eni, Okibo, Okesi, Ileteju, Ayeromi, Ugugu, Obinoyin, Obatben and Oturu is at this moment suspended. The incidents in the other local government areas are being thoroughly investigated, and the outcome, including the way forward, will be announced in the next 24 hours. Now let's bring you up to speed with other news before we turn to the off-cycle election. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has heard appeals emanating from the governorship election judgments of tribunal in Kaduna and Plateau states, with judgment reserved to a date to be communicated to parties. Judiciary correspondent Ayestin Anyebe reports.
There are 2 appeals from Kaduna State, one by the PDP governorship candidate in the March 2023 election, Hashiru Isa, who praised the appellate court to invalidate Sani Uba's victory as affirmed by the tribunal on technical grounds. The second is a cross appeal by Governor Sani challenging the alternative ruling of the tribunal, which favored Hashiru, where it ordered a supplementary election in 22 polling units whose votes were invalidated. Counsel to the parties adumbrated on a brief of argument in their final addresses, highlighting key issues before the justices for determination, particularly as they relate to the non-compliance with the Electoral Act 2022. Counsel to Sani Uba urged the court to dismiss the alternative reliefs for a supplementary election in any polling unit in Kaduna State as granted by the tribunal.
The court have argued it and we'll let the court do its job. Everything is in the court, we've argued. So the court will take its issue.
Adopt all our positions, and the positions have been adopted.
In another appeal filed by the APC governorship candidate in Plateau State, Nentawe Iwada, heard by another panel of justices of the Court of Appeal, the appellant praised the court to set aside the judgment of the tribunal, which affirmed the election of Governor Caleb Motuang and declared him winner on the grounds that the People's Democratic Party lacked structure and was not qualified to sponsor any candidate in an election. But counsel to the governor urged the Court of Appeal to affirm the judgment of the tribunal, which upheld the election of Governor Caleb. Judgment is also reserved with a date to be communicated to parties. Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal presided over by Justice Moore Adume affirms election of Sunday Marshall Katun of People's Democratic Party as senator representing Kaduna South Senatorial District. The 3-member panel in a unanimous decision upheld the judgment of the National and State Assembly Election Petitions Tribunal in Kaduna, which had dismissed the petition of the Labour Party candidate Michael Ayuba Auta for lacking in merit.
The appellants have a duty as petitioners to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt, and the tribunal was right in their finding that the appellants did not prove any of those reliefs they sought before the lower court.
From the Court of Appeal, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
To education matters, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, says it will not rest on its oars until admission racketeering by some tertiary institutions in the country is brought to a standstill. JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede stated this as part of activities to mark Savicom Customers Week in Abuja. Olainka Ojo reports.
For some time now, under the carpet of provisional admissions to candidates by some tertiary institutions in the country for courses such as medicine and surgery, pharmacy, law, engineering and nursing have been the order of the day. But the introduction of the Central Admission Processing System (CAPS) by JAMB has been able to curtail the trend. This ugly trend is rearing its head again, with the latest coming from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
The provisional admission practice is being used as a malicious tool to exploit and frustrate intelligent young Nigerians.
The University of Nigeria has a reputation. JAMB has its own reputation. The Latin phraseology applies here. Let the other side be heard.
This made JAMB to embark on investigation, as there are other parameters used for admission and not only a high score. While applauding the Senate after due consultation for their mediating role, JAMB says it is when a candidate is brought to compete with other candidates that the candidate will realize he or she is far below, and the space to admit the candidate non-existent.
JAMB, with all of you, we fully cooperate with the Senate to ensure that the right thing is done.
The board, however, reiterated that after the investigation, no staff of JAMB was involved in the admission racketeering. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
To ensure safety on our roads, the federal government is committed to prioritizing investment on Nigerian roads as a way to demonstrate commitment to safety on the highways and roads nationwide. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, stated this at the opening ceremony of Capacity Building Program for FRSC paramedics and patrol operatives. Oyeyemi Ajayi has details.
In the first quarter of 2023, the Federal Road Safety Corps reports that 4,387 people lost their lives to road accidents, with over 14,000 injured. The breakdown reveals that 24 lives are lost daily to preventable death if attended to on time. Against this backdrop, the FRSC has commenced a capacity building program for the Corps' paramedics and patrol operatives, who mostly are first responders when crashes occur.
Over the years, the dedication and commitment of FRSC paramedics and patrol operatives have been instrumental in saving countless lives and reducing road crashes.
The safe movement of goods and services, and of course human mobility, contributes to economic growth and development. And this is what makes the safety of our roads important and a concern to all of us.
Road safety is a shared responsibility. It is not the sole responsibility of the Federal Road Safety Corps or the government. It is collective duty that involves every road user. By investing in the training and development of our Federal Road Safety Corps personnel,
the training, which has commenced, will be replicated in Kano, Ibadan and Enugu states. Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Chief executives of media organizations have emphasized the need for the mainstream media to seize the narrative and overwhelm the media space in order to prevent the spread of fake news and misinformation. This was at a dinner party to celebrate the appointment of Ali Muhammad Ali as the Managing Director, News Agency of Nigeria. Ekene Ndulue reports.
Authorities in the media sector and friends of Ali Muhammad Ali all gathered in this space to felicitate with him on his new role as the helmsman of the News Agency of Nigeria. It is a job that comes with lots of challenges, but they believe he will not be shy to deal with the elephant in the room. Proliferation of fake news and misinformation is a clear and present danger, but the new crop of national media chief executives believe this is surmountable.
He's a person who understands Nigeria very well. He's a man of very seasoned. So I have no doubt in his capacity and his competence.
Fight against fake news in this country by delivering, effective and efficient and correct news to Nigerians. So Nigerians can be rest assured that whatever happens, they can refer to the Nigerian Television Authority for verification.
Now, once you overwhelm the media space with what is verifiable, what is authentic, what is timely, and what people can connect with, you by the mainstream media, you know that fake news will just be fake.
For the man of the moment, his goal is to return the News Agency of Nigeria to its pride of place as a foremost content creator across the globe.
The coming days, you will see a more competitive news agency that would make others just simply wonder what happened to the old man. While our response to news gathering will be rapid, it will be fast, and then our delivery will be professional, will be balanced, will be in line with our core mandate.
Ali Mohammed Ali is a veteran journalist and has served in various capacities, including as former managing director of People's Day newspaper and former editor, Triumph newspaper, Kano. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulue, NTA News.
We'll take a break now. When we return, the off-cycle election in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa will be in focus. Don't go away. You're welcome back. Now, against the expectation of many, the 2023 Imo State off-cycle governorship election has come and gone without recording major challenges. Kingsley Onanyu reports that the electoral exercise, however, recorded minor setbacks in some polling centers across the state.
The Imo State off-season governorship poll was generally peaceful in most of the polling centers visited by NTA news crew in the 3 senatorial districts and 27 local government areas of the state, as INEC officials, voters, and security agents conducted themselves in most acceptable manners. Another success story of the election is that both the accreditation and voting exercise was smooth and hitch-free, unlike what was observed in the previous elections in the state. This positive development earned the nation's electoral umpire the voters' commendation.
INEC was perfect. There was no issues. The whole materials, everything was intact.
The INEC should be given a thumbs up. You can see, if you listen very well, you will see that there are no conflicts here and there.
And I'm quite satisfied that everybody who's come here to vote has had an opportunity to vote.
I want Imo to progress. Better things come for Imo State because we are suffering.
Everything went peacefully. People came in, they voted, they were very happy. There was no problem at all, so I'm very happy and very pleased.
The off-cycle governorship election, however, failed the expectations of the electorate over late arrival of INEC officials and materials in some rural areas of the state. Another ugly narratives trailing the conduct of the election was low turnout of voters that generally greeted the exercise in most polling units as against the official recorded number of registered voters in those places, as well as the alleged buying of votes by some political parties. In Owerri, Kingsley Onanyu, NTA News.
Now, former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan has expressed concern over the conduct of off-cycle elections in Nigeria. The former President, Bayelsa State Governor, and the former Minister of State Petroleum Resources, who is also the APC candidate, however, commend the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for the coordinated and orderly conduct of the election. Ibinemi Zitimiola brings us a compilation of the election in Bayelsa State.
The former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, alongside his wife, cast a ballot in Ward 13, Unit 39, Otweke, Ogba local government area, where he expressed concern over off-cycle elections in Nigeria.
If we continue with this trend of off-season elections, based on the interpretation of our laws by the judicial officers, it will come to a time that the presidential election in Nigeria may be off-season. I will use this unique opportunity to plead with the National Assembly that we need to block these off-season elections. It's a very odd, it's not a global best practice.
From Kolokuma-Pokuma local government area, the candidate of the PDP and incumbent governor, Doye Diri, commended INEC for the seamless process.
Very seamless, very fast. If it continues like this, I want to believe that INEC will prevail on not only their facilities, training of the personnel that are handling the process.
Similarly, former Minister of State Petroleum Resources and APC candidate Temipre Silva speaks on the assessment of election after voting in his hometown, Okboma, in Brass local government area.
So far, in my unit, things are going on very well. And around the state, we also are following. And there is a lot of violence. And in some cases, it is believed by our people that we are running election not against PDP but against security. But we are continuing the situation.
The election was generally peaceful in Bayelsa State, with sorting and counting underway by the polling officers, and collation of results is in progress. Ebinimi Zitemiola, NTA News.
And now to our discussion on the off-cycle election in Imo, Kogi, and by also bringing in Nick Dazank, former Director of Voter Education, Independent National Electoral Commission. Welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure we've been talking since morning. You know, we've been monitoring the election since it started this morning. And let's have your general assessment of the election so far.
Well, I think the elections, comparatively, that is, compared with the 2023 general elections, went very well in terms of logistics, in terms of the performance of the bimodal voter accreditation system, the ANIC results viewing portal, and the comportment of voters generally. But the challenges we saw was that of low voter turnout, particularly in Imo and Bayelsa. But in Kogi State, we saw a more impressive turnout, probably because of the kind of politics that is taking place there. We have 3 formidable candidates, you know, from 3 different senatorial districts. And therefore, that made the contest to be very exciting. And given the diversity of Kogi State, you know, the election reflected that diversity. And each ethnic group was trying to now support robustly its own candidate in the election. So the election was more competitive, and the turnout was more impressive in Kogi State than in Imo and Bayelsa. And in respect of Imo, that is to be expected given what happened before now. The negative mobilization, the kind of violence we saw. So a lot of people were afraid, you know, for their lives. But by and by, as elections, you know, continued, we could see that more people were coming out. But in the early hours of today, very few people turned out in the polling units, particularly in Owerri, which is the capital city. But subsequently, when it occurred to people that the security situation was all right, so many people turned out. So what we have is at least an improvement on the 2023 general elections. And the elections now give us a foretaste of what to expect in 2024 when the Edo and Ondo governorship elections will be conducted.
Okay, would you say, one of the respondents said it's thumbs up for INEC, would you say the lessons learned from the February March general election sort of reflected on what happened?
Yes, it is very clear that there's a significant improvement in the conduct of these elections, and they have a relationship, a correlation with the lessons learned from the conduct of the 2023 general elections. What normally happens at the end of every election cycle is that INEC reviews the conduct of the elections, and it looks at dispassionately where it came short and where it did well, and then it tries to factor in lessons learned from the conduct of the elections. So we have seen a very conscious effort by INEC to improve on its performance, and we've also seen very professional performance on the part of the security agencies. And these elections that took place today underscore the fact that elections are truly multi-stakeholder affairs. Every stakeholder played his role. The media played their roles, the observers played their roles, the security agencies played their roles, the anti-corruption agencies also played their roles, when you consider that a number of arrests beyond the kind of the pale or the kind of numbers that we used to see occurred today of people who partook in vote buying. And that kind of action is going to help to check that ugly trend subsequently. And we can also see that INEC itself was very, proactive in terms of checking incidents where its own staff did not carry themselves well. For example,
they listened to the civil society's report.
They took in, observations by the media and civil society.
Yes.
They responded to them timeously, and then they took actions that showed that, yes, they were on the same page with the media and the civil society. And I believe that if we continue to work in lockstep, if all the stakeholders continue to work in concert, then we can have better elections.
Okay, Mr. Nick Dazan, when we return after this break, we'll be taking your final thoughts and your impression so far of the election. Yeah, welcome back. Now let's take Jonathan Majali's report that voting and accreditation began early in most polling units across the state.
After months of expectations and preparation, the people of Kogi State finally came out to vote for the next governor of the state. Accreditation and voting began as early as 8:30 in the morning in Lokoja and Ajokuta local government areas. Some of the polling units visited in Lokoja included spare polling unit 017 and polling unit 020 St. Mary. Polling unit 6, Ganaja Motor Park, and polling unit 009, both in Ajokuta local government area, were also visited. The exercise was peaceful across the state, with security personnel present at the polling units and strategic locations to ensure the process went smoothly.
So I feel let the people have confidence and then below abiding, the result would be counted and entered appropriately and escorted to the proper level of escalating the result to the final collection center.
People have been accredited, voting had gone on smoothly in those areas we visited. And so at this point, we've come here and been the largest polling unit in the country with 13,000 registered voters. You yourself have seen the crowd that is here.
Outside the state capital, voters and candidates also came out to exercise their franchise. APC candidate Ahmed Usman Ududu voted in Okene, Moritala Ajako of the Social Democratic Party voted in Ida, and Lekia Bijide of ADC voted in Yagba East local government area, among other candidates.
As you can see, the election is peaceful and orderly. This election is about the liberation of the people of Kogi State.
No any advance report from anywhere. And I want to urge the media not to listen to just hearsay.
Voting ended at 2:30 in the afternoon in most locations. Voters described the election as one of the best in recent times.
So I've observed a lot of election in Kogi State. This is the most peaceful.
And the issue of vote buying, all these kids, boss snatching and all that, nothing like that happened.
18 candidates are in the race for the next governor of the state. In Lokoja, Jonathan Omajali, NTA News.
And my guest, Nick Dazang, former Director of Voter Education, Independent National Electoral Commission, is still seated here in the studio. It's going to be quite a long night for the states as results continue to trickle in. And we just heard from the report I read that some elections were cancelled in Kogi State. Let's have your final thoughts on this before I let you go.
Well, I think it is the decision by INEC to cancel those results were very correct because they were introduced extraneously, from the process. And I think that beyond merely suspending these results, after investigations have been duly carried out and it is proven that these results were introduced from outside into the process, the perpetrators should be, punished according to the extent of the law so that it will serve as a deterrent to others who might do that in future. But as to my assessment is that I think the commission brought into our own assessment, which is that the conduct of the off-cycle governorship elections presented an opportunity for it to redeem itself. And it took the advice seriously and it translated into the conduct of these elections, which have been adjudged by all and sundry to be an improvement on the conduct of the 2023 general elections. And our prayer and hope is that this momentum will be sustained, going forward, so that the image of the commission, which has suffered a lot of battering in the past will be repaired, and then it will earn the confidence and the trust of Nigerians who have despaired over the conduct of the 2023 general elections.
With the Edo and the Ondo election just around the corner.
Yes, and that also gives us, you know, like I said, this gives us a foretaste that if you can now conduct 3 off-cycle elections on the same day, and since the gap between the Edo and Ondo governorship elections is not much, because in the last election, I think the gap was just 2 or 3 weeks. So it means that you could also conduct these 2 off-cycle elections at the same time. It makes it manageable, it reduces cost, and it also challenges INEC, you know, to conduct elections beyond merely one state at a time.
Indeed. Nick Dazang, former Director of Voter Education, Independent National Electoral Commission. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sure you're going to be here tomorrow bright and early.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure having you on Week in 5.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. When we return, more. Don't go away. You're welcome back. Sport Update is next.
We begin with the Nigerian Premier Football League as Doma United beat Akwa United 1-0 at the Pantami Stadium, Gombe, to move 7th place on the table in the only fixture of match day 8. In the English Premier League, Tottenham were beaten 2-1 away to Wolves. The defeat is Ange Postecoglou's 2nd in a row. Arsenal trashed Burnley 3-1. Manchester United secured the all-important 3 points as they beat Luton 1-0 at Old Trafford, while Crystal Palace lost 2-3 at home to Everton. As part of activities marking the 100 years existence of Ansaruddin Muslim Organization, a walk, football and basketball matches was put together as a way of improving the lives of its members through physical exercise and other sporting activities.
We want our members to involve in sport activities, table tennis, volleyball, basketball, and football, just to make sure that health is wealth.
In the football event, young and older men of the association locked horns, while the basketball was exclusively played by female members. For Sports Update, Bright Ebuchu, NTA News.
The death has occurred of Alhaji Abdurrahim Umar, the Alangwa of Babadudu in Asa local government area of Kwara State. He died on Wednesday, the 8th of November, after a protracted illness. His funeral prayer will come up tomorrow at Zarum compound at Dangba area of Ilori, Kwara State. Alhaji Abdurrahim Umar is survived by 4 children and 10 grandchildren, among them Khadijat Akambi, Assistant Director News, NTA Ilori. And that's Weekend File for this week, but don't go away. The Off Circle Studios continues after Weekend File.